And for people that say, oh, net worth isn't important, we'll go tell that to the banks when you're trying to qualify for a loan. Hello and welcome. My name is Gino Barbaro, one of the co-founders of Jake and Gino. And in this lesson, this how-to video, if you want to learn the various ways, the different ways that you can make money in real estate. Yes, there's more ways than just making cash flow in real estate. If you want to learn how to make money in real estate, listen on. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to do right now. Dispel. There's a lot of myths out there. When you get into real estate, everyone talks about certain things. You make money when you buy. You hear a lot of things in real estate that just aren't true. Now, the very first one, when people say that you make money on the buy, not 100% accurate. Wow, you bought the deal now. Okay, great. You've made money on the buy. You may make a little bit of cash flow, correct? But you truly make money when you exit the deal, whether it's a refi or a sale. You accumulate all that equity, you pull it out. That's truly when you make money. And if you don't know how to buy right, if you don't know how to manage that asset or finance it properly, then you're never going to make money, let alone cash flowing. Doesn't matter what you're buying it for. If you can't exit it or pull some of that equity out, you're not going to make money. You want a copy of the book, Wheelbarrow Profits? Email me, gino@jakeandgino.com. I'd love to send you a free copy by email. Let's think about that for a second. You're there. You buy a home for $100,000. How much do you cash flow in that home? $300 a month, that's $3,500 a year. You hold it for, 3 years. You've got 10 grand in cash flow. If everything goes well and you don't have to replace the roof and the AC doesn't go out or the boiler doesn't go out or you have vacancy, let's make 10 grand. At the end of 3 years, that house went from 100,000 to let's say $150,000 in value and you sell it. Well, you just made $50,000 in equity at the sale or a refi. Let's say you got to pay, broker's fees and all, you make 40. Well, $40,000 at the end of 3 years is a lot more than 10,000. It just goes to show you that equity or pulling out or selling the deal is truly where you make it. Now, another statement that I love to say, cash flow will get you out of your job. Absolutely. But equity will keep you out of your job. Always think about that. You're always trying to work for equity. Equity creates wealth. And for people that say, oh, net worth isn't important, we'll go tell that to the banks when you're trying to qualify for a loan. And equity, what it allows you to do is it's capital for yourself that you're able to pull out and repurpose into the next deal, which is truly important. This next one, I want you to write this down. This is truly important for all of you out there that are working just on transactions. And transactions are important because that's how you create equity. I hated working at my restaurant, but I needed that job to pay my bills and to be able to save money, that equity, to put into deals. Now, transactions pay the bills. Equity is what makes you rich. And how do you build up equity? In my opinion, multifamily real estate or any kind of real estate that you hold long term, you're able to get the cash flow. But at the end of the term, whenever you're selling it or refinancing, that's where the true wealth is created. I'm going to give you a perfect example. We bought our deal, our very first deal. We still own it back in 2013. We paid $600,000 for that deal. Now that deal has done phenomenal. It's been averaging about $7,000 to $8,000 a month in cash flow every year for the last 3 or 4 years on average. But in 2013, the asset was worth $600,000. We're now a little over 10 years later. That asset conservatively is worth $2.5 million. We've created a little less than $2 million in equity on that deal. Now, not only the wealth created by the deal itself, we're talking about the ability that the principal was paid down by the residents, the cash flow that we got, all those amazing tax benefits that we've had over the past 7 or 8 years. Can you see that, hey, it's great to get into this real estate thing, that's transactions are awesome, but what you ultimately want to do is you ultimately want to get into this game, get some transactions, and turn those transactions into equity. Now let's go over the various ways that you make money in real estate. Now the first one is pretty obvious, and this is what everyone wants. This is the nirvana of real estate. We all want cash flow. We want that monthly dividend. I mean, that's why Jake and I got into this business. We didn't get into this business just to fix and flip multifamilies and go on to the next one. We wanted a monthly dividend that pays us every single month. And that's what we focused on. That's why we created the buy right, the manage right, and the finance right. Now, if you're just starting out, it's hard just to focus on cash flow because you need equity or you need some type of magic to buy these deals. And I mean magic, call it seller financing, It's a great way to get into it because it's not any equity of your own. You're using the seller's equity. You need equity somewhere to get into these deals. If you're not using your own, maybe the seller can give you some of his equity and hold a note. Or you use syndication. Syndication is a great way to get into it, and you're using money of someone else's equity that you're leveraging. So cash flow is the first one. Now, the second one, we just talked about it for the last 5 minutes. I'm going to continue to harp on this. It's equity. That's how you make money in real estate, by getting a deal, repositioning the asset, means fixing it up, buying it for X, selling it for Y, or refinancing it for Y. Pulling that equity out, and now you've got a chunk of equity, and you go back and you repurpose it into the next asset. I'm going to give you a tip as far as I'm concerned of what I did when I got into real estate. I was very fortunate that I had a small business that was paying me every month. I was able to go into real estate. I did not quit my restaurant. I had 5 kids at the time. It would have been very, very, I don't want to say stupid, but unresponsible for me to quit and go into real estate full time when I didn't have the business. I did both. And at a certain point, I was able to take all of the profits from my real estate business and put them back into the real estate. So I wasn't living on the real estate. I was living on my restaurant. And I did this for 3 or 4 years. Was it challenging? Absolutely. But it gave me the ability to build up the cash flow on these assets, to be able to refinance these assets and pull the refinance money and buy the next deal. If I had to live on that money, I wouldn't have been able to go and buy the next deal. So if you're hearing out there, you've got to burn the ships, you've got to quit your job. Oh, that doesn't work for everybody. It didn't work for me. And I don't think you need to do that. The only ships that you need to burn are in your mind. You need to be totally dedicated and totally convinced that real estate is for you. And you need to really, for the next couple of years, spend an inordinate amount of time doing both. Staying in your job, staying in your business, creating that capital, the equity that you're able to use. And also your W-2 job gives you the ability to, get financing on your loans because they want a W-2. I was able to stay there for, like I said, from the very first deal we did, Jake and I, in 2013, within 3 years, I was able to accumulate enough equity. Then cash flow got me out of the job early on in 2016. But that equity in 17 and 18, I was able to repurpose it and get it to that next deal. Now, the next one, how you making money in real estate? They're fees. Fees are wonderful. You get into syndication, there's acquisition fees, asset management fees, disposition fees, construction management fees, refinance fees. Hey, if you're a realtor fees. They're there to keep the lights on. They're there to pay for your lifestyle. Whatever's left over, save it and start buying assets with that. This next one is wholesale. If you're a wholesaler, it's a great business. Big shout out to Sean Tucker. We've got a Jake and Gino student. He's young, less than 30 years old. He is crushing it with his wholesale business, but now he understands he's got a problem. He has a tax problem. So he's accumulated a lot of equity here. He needs to take this equity and repurpose it into an asset like multifamily that's going to give him those tax benefits and create long-term wealth. Wholesaling is a great way to get into real estate, especially if you have little money. Start generating those wholesaling fees and start putting it into and buying assets. The next one is flipping. If you're in there and you want to get into real estate and make money, buy a single family home, fix it up and flip it. For those of you that are a little bit more adventuresome, go buy a multifamily, a duplex, a quad, 50 unit, 100 unit. Syndication. It's really glorified flipping. You're buying this asset, you're repositioning it, increasing the NOI, and you're exiting by flipping the asset. Great way to make money in real estate. This next one has been all the rage for the last several years. I'm lukewarm on it, depending on where you are. I live in St. Augustine. So for me, this Airbnb strategy, depending on where the market is, depending on supply and demand, and basically the cost of the assets. Airbnb can be a very lucrative small little business. Now, to me, it's a lot more labor intensive. You need to have a good property management company. You need to have a good market. You need to really be understanding the pictures, the reviews, having that property management in place. But it's a great way to have a few assets, 3, 4, 5 assets when you're starting out, and you can generate significant, that number one. Remember that number one, cash flow? You're generating significant cash flow. You're running a business. And hopefully in the next 3 or 4 years, you can possibly package those assets up, refi them, or you just sell them out. So think about Airbnb. This next one, I love it. Becoming the banker. If you want to lend money, you have a self-directed IRA, if you've got savings, or if you've got lines of credit, think about becoming a private money lender. It's an awesome business. you're charging points and interest rates. If you have a $100,000 loan that you're giving to somebody, you're going to secure that asset with the loan. The loan is going to be secured. You're putting a lien on that asset. Hopefully you understand it, after repair values and not taking a ton of risk, but understanding that, $100,000 loan, you can charge anywhere up to, let's say, 2 or 3 points and a 12% interest rate. So you're making 15% of your money, and that money is secured by a hard asset real estate. Look up private money lending. Awesome. And this last one, I think, being a broker, I'm sure there's tons more. And if you have any in the comment section down below, please let me know what you're doing by being in real estate. You could be flipping land. You could be repositioning, becoming a developer, contractor, whatever that is. There's so many different areas. I'm just trying to expand your mind. And this last one, I think broker, you're selling the land, you're selling other assets. It's a great way to get into the business. But once again, you're getting into it. If you want to create wealth, that's not the last step. That's the first step, is creating those transactions. And then ultimately, by getting those transactions, putting it into assets, holding those assets longer term. Now, ultimately, this depends upon your goals. Wealth creation is, by owning equity and growing your cash flow. And what's crazy about it is that Jake and I started back in 2013. We currently have almost 1,800 units in our portfolio. We've sold off all our syndications, so these are owned just by us and a partner. If you do 1 or 2 deals a year, 50, 100 units a year on average, you look back 4 or 5 years from now, you've got a 400 to 500 unit portfolio. That's creating cash flow, and that's building equity. And that's what the goal to me is of being in real estate. Building a real estate portfolio and a real estate business. Now, if you like the show, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If you want to learn more about multifamily real estate, just go to jakeandgino.com. If you want to give us a call, schedule a call with our team members, 865-800-3905. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes with me today talking about how to make money in real estate, and I'll see you on next week's How To. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to like and subscribe so you'll never miss another episode.